Welcome to Precision Animal Training, where we teach big lessons through the lens of getting precise science-based behavior. I'm Kier like your ear, Kirsten, Crawl like a baby Kraljevic, animal trainer, behavior nerd, and your host. This is a show about real, lasting change. The science of precision, the power of pursuing perfect timing, the art of truly seeing and shaping behavior, whether you're working with chickens, dogs, dolphins, parrots, horses, or even ourselves. Expect real stories from the field, timeless principles that transfer across species, and practical insights you can apply immediately. Because if you can train a chicken with clarity, kindness, and razor-sharp precision, you can train almost anything. So grab a notebook. This is your personal masterclass in curiosity, mechanics, and true behavioral understanding. I'm coming to you today from the Gulf Coast of Alabama with someone I've known and respected for many years, the legendary Dr. Bob Bailey. We're sitting down to uncover how the now famous chicken workshops actually came to life. You'll learn just how revolutionary they really were. These workshops didn't just change animal training, they helped launch an entire new era based on B.F. Skinner's principles. We're going to trace the journey from the early days of the Brelands, working with the Laro Feed Company and their national animal shows, all the way to the moment teaching chickens became the ultimate proving ground for trainers across generations. I'm especially excited to hear the stories of resilience, reinvention, and why those mechanical skills from the 1940s are still just as important today. Whether you're new to this world or a seasoned trainer, I have a feeling we're both about to learn something powerful. So come learn with me. Let's dive in. Welcome back, and we're on the Gulf Coast of Alabama talking to Dr. Bob Bailey, who I've said before is incredibly special to me, as well as my mentor. We've been talking about some history, and I want to go back there because I believe there's a lot that doesn't get told that should be told about the history of animal training, that if you're young and you're out there listening to me and you want to get into animal training, I think it's important that you know. But it's also important to know Bob now. Bob now is, how old are you, Bob?
Oh, I'll be 90 pretty soon.
Bob will be 90 pretty soon. And I can tell you, he is sharp as a tack, and he still can work longer days than most people that I'm aware of. So I met Bob back in 2002. It was the year after Marion, his wife Marion, had passed away. And we're going to go back because that's a great love story, but that's going to take a whole episode. We're going to go back there. But let's just focus when I met him. So he was out teaching on his own. He had support. You had very loyal students helping you. But he was carrying on these workshops that we've mentioned before, these workshops with chickens that were developed to teach animal trainers the mechanical skills to put the principles that Skinner had observed in the hands of trainers. And, here I am. I had been training animals for a while, and I didn't have the best start. I had a start which was common for the 80s, where a lot of compulsion was used. And looking back, we suppressed a lot of behavior. So we didn't get the type of behavior that Bob and Marion did in their work, where they were going, their stimulus control was going distance and duration through distractions that I can't say I was exposed to until I met. So can you go back and tell me when the chicken workshops became public?
Well, the chicken workshops started back in 1947-48. When the Brelands needed animal trainers for animal shows that General Mills wanted to have produced and sell their animal feed. They were very much in the animal feed business called Laro Feeds. Anyway, they had no one to help them The Brelands had no one to help them train the animals to give animal shows all over the United States. That's border to border, coast to coast, and thousands of shows every year. So they set up a class, and they were fortunate that they selected chickens. It was just that they were convenient, and so that's what they used. They had lots of them, so they used chickens to train the people. And they produced a manual. That was, as far as we know, it's still, it was Skinner's, well, let's say, the first manual of Skinner's work showing how to apply Skinner's principles to animal training. Anyway, they trained a dozen people in a very short period of time. I'm talking a few months. They trained these people to train animals, and they produced hundreds of chickens and hundreds of rabbits and many sheep and pigs and goats and other animals. But it was all done by manual. And again, this was in the 1940s. And they also, when later on, in as far as the business goes, the Brelands business, that they trained all of the people that they worked with out in the field all over the United States, their own personnel at their own company, Animal Behavior Enterprises, which they began in 1943. They trained all their personnel using chickens.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
Because there's so much information. But what I want people to hear when Bob is talking is that they systematized animal training. They systematized it in a way that it was repeatable.
Okay, that's what I was just going to get to.
But I want to go back to this kid that uses the blowgun, that gets the job as the dolphin, the head of dolphin training. And now here's these, they were consultants, right? They came down, the Brelands came down to consult with you on how to train dolphins. What did they give you to train with? Did you start on a chicken? Did Bob start on a chicken?
An advantage I had as becoming an animal trainer is I never had to train using coercion. Never in my life have I ever had to jerk on a chain on a dog's leash. I've never had to do that. Now, I'm not saying I have never punished, using the technical term punish, but I have never used that as a way, using punishment as a way of getting a behavior. So stop behavior when I've needed to, but always used reinforcement. Now, in the chicken training, we did that with all of our clients. I learned to really train animals training chickens. That's how I learned it.
And you learned it from who?
I learned it from the Brelands. I went to Hot Springs, Arkansas. That was from the dolphin training program in California. I went to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I spent a number of weeks there learning how to train chickens. Now, I was the director of training for the U.S. Navy Dolphin Program, which was the prime, the plum animal training job probably in the world. And when I went back to Hot Springs, Arkansas, they had all of their trainers there training all of their animals for entertainment. And when I watched them train, I saw trainers that were so far above me in terms of their skill, in terms of their productivity, in terms of their understanding of what they were doing, far beyond me. And I realized that I really did not know how to train, and I had to learn it all over again. So I set about learning to train chickens, and I trained rabbits, and I trained ducks, and I trained goats, and I trained sheep, and all under the tutelage of the Brelands, and also by another person I'll mention here, Kent Burgess, who was the first training director for SeaWorld. But he had been trained by the Brelands. That's where SeaWorld got their technology, from the Brelands.
So there's a thread here. And again, there's lots of episodes to unpack in here. But I hope what you're getting the sense of how Keller said when he left Skinner, when he left academia, he's like, hey, this stuff really works. This is special. We're going to go somewhere with this, right? And we will. I promise you we will, because it's so special to me. And I want you all to know all these stories. We'll get into them. But I want you to know why I'm here. And I want you to know why Bob's here, almost 90 years old. I can't put words into his mouth, but I believe he's here because it matters that this stuff gets passed on. It matters. It matters to me. Would you say it mattered to you?
Yes, it matters to me, of course. I hope that people will listen to what you have to say and what you do.
So what you do, did you hear that? It's a do thing, people. It's great that you're hearing these stories, but this is something actionable that you can do. You can work with chickens to improve your mechanical skills, no matter what level you are in training. And that was a huge takeaway for me when I did my first workshops with Bob in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And Bob, I have a little confession here to make, and I hope you're okay with this, but I was at home the other day and I just cracked this huge smile because I have this very large pink towel that I got from the Velda Rose 20 years ago. Was it 20 years ago? I still have the towel, Bob. The towel is still alive.
I'll take it back.
And I say that, and I mean this. When I went initially, I would say I was probably one of the more shut down trainers you ever met. Would you say that way back when in 2002?
No comment.
Okay. So I'll comment. I was afraid to even move when I went in there, and for a lot of reasons that we don't need to go into on the podcast. But Bob didn't give up on me. He did not give up on me. And I went to the end of that week, because the courses are a week, right? They're 5 days and they're jam-packed, 40 hours a day. And I mean, I felt like, born again isn't the right word, but I felt like I, at that point, was like, wait a minute, I can still be an animal trainer. I can still do this. So I would go up to Bob and I would say, Bob, can I stay another week? And Bob would say, we'll see.
Well, I should mention that we don't have 40 hours a day, even in those workshops. Back then,
It felt 40.
But it felt like it, that's all.
So he would say yes at the end of the week. I would call home. My daughter, I think at the time, was 5 or 6 years old. I would tell my husband I have to stay another week, and I would do that. I did that for 5 weeks. I stayed in Hot Springs. And at one point, every week I would hear Bob say, please don't take the towels. And I promise you, I'm that person that wouldn't take a towel. But then somewhere over those 5 weeks, I took a towel. But what is so amazing to me is that it's still in my house and it's still a towel. Are you an animal trainer ready to sharpen your skills to a legendary level? Or a corporate leader looking for a fresh, powerful way to boost team dynamics, decision-making, and leadership? Discover Kirsten's Chicken Workshops, an immersive 5-day experience rooted in the science-based curated exercises of the legendary Bob and Marion Bailey. Train a live chicken using the principles of operant conditioning, like positive reinforcement. Why chickens? They're fast, honest teachers that instantly reveal where you need to improve your training skills. No fluff, just real results that transfer to dogs, horses, or any species you want to train, and even to leading people more effectively. Trainers call it life-changing. Dr. Bob Bailey himself endorses it as the ultimate mechanical skill builder. So visit Kirsten'sChickenWorkshops.com right now and sign up for the waitlist. Spots fill fast. Train a chicken, change the way you train and lead forever. Head to Kirsten'sChickenWorkshops.com today. So I go home, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing. You've taught these workshops with several people around the world, wouldn't you say?
Yes. I've been fortunate that I've had some, let's say, dedicated and creative students who have become TAs. And the students themselves, actually, they would volunteer. I would have lots of people volunteering to care for the animals while we were there. And it takes a fair amount of time to clean and feed and water and do all the things you have to do with a live animal. And they did it willingly, cheerfully. And there would be times that I'd hear them singing with the chickens while they were caring for them.
So then, fast forward, I go home and I'm training everything. I mean, I'm at the botanical gardens training the koi fish in the pond. I had horses at the times, pigs, goats, dogs, cats, and it was so empowering. What I learned in those 5 weeks was just so empowering. It changed my life. I couldn't unsee it. And to this day, I cannot unsee what I've learned. So 2016 comes around and Bob's retiring, I believe it was. It was somewhere I heard this was your last go around or something. So lucky for me, you were teaching in Columbia, Maryland, which is very close to my mom. So I had a place to stay for 5 weeks. So I did the same thing, went back, took them all over again. And then fast forward again, we reconnect. It was just as powerful to me the second time as it was the first time. And somewhere 2018, I hear that you have cancer.
Yes.
You want to speak a little bit about that?
Not especially. I said cancer.
So I hear Bob has cancer. So I reach out and I'm like, hey, Bob, is there any way I can help? And he's like, well, we're trying to republish a book. You're trying to republish the
Breland's book, the animal behavior book.
Yeah, so I hopped on that and helped out with that. And then it was, we're trying to catalog pictures at Henderson University.
Yes, a lot of old pictures in the old formats. And it was a matter of digitizing these. And so I began a program at Henderson State University. Graduate students were helping me. And we did 35,000 slides and probably a lot of other just stills,
and
prints.
You had started chemo at that point.
Yes, I was undergoing chemo, yes.
And chemo, I'm going to say, really kicks a person's...
Yeah. I'll say it. I still have leukemia, but I am in some sort of remission that the doctors don't quite understand.
So here he is, my mentor that I believe, taught me what I couldn't unsee and what I felt was so empowering and changing my own behavior. Remember that. This is about you. This is about what you can learn, the mechanical skills you can learn and the observation skills you can learn to change behavior, to change other people's behavior by changing yours. Do you get that? Does that come across? Because I really, really want it to. Because I really, really want you to know that even though we're going through all this history, this is actionable, people. This is actionable. So here we are. Every time I see Bob, I'm getting a little worried, right? And I'm also thinking, those chicken workshops, those darn chicken workshops. And I'm laughing. And if you've been to the workshops, I'm sure you're smiling right now because we always want to ask, why chickens, Bob? Why chickens?
Well, they're a great model for behavior. But I would also like to comment on one other thing here, and that is the job that you and Mike, your husband, have done making that facility you have into the Taj Mahal of chicken facilities. Those chickens have just the life there, and the actual training facilities are so nice.
Also, okay, people,
and the food is very good.
Okay, let's back up on that one because it's a tough shed in my backyard. It's my Skinner box. But again, I'm seeing Bob, I'm asking about the chickens, and this reference might get lost on you. I don't know. Who out there has seen The Karate Kid? Yeah, okay, so if you've seen The Karate Kid, and maybe they just remade the movie, I don't know. Watch it if you can. So there's Mr. Miyagi is the role in there, right? So Bob is an advocate of the Socratic method, right? Which can be maddening as a student, right? So I'm asking, why chickens? And he's like, why do you think chickens? Like, well, I don't know. Why this? Well, you must get this. So somewhere in there, and I'm sure he didn't make me do it. I just felt the calling. I got some little bantam chickens because he said, if you can train a bantam chicken, you can teach. So I get these little bantam chickens, and they took a while to find, and it didn't work out so well because I didn't make sure they were vaccinated. So there's my first thing. And remember this too, resiliency. Don't ever forget that, right? Because things are going to go wrong and you are going to mess up and you're going to think you can't do this. And I'm going to tell you, yes, you can. If I can do this, you can do this, right? So I get the bantam chickens. They don't last. And then somehow I hear my Mr. Miyagi tell me, get leghorn chickens. So I go out and get leghorn chickens. Now, Bob is coming through Mobile on his way to Florida frequently. You have connections in Florida. What would you say, the Dolphin Research Center?
Yes, some places, yes.
Yeah, and the Marine Land. I mean, there's a lot of history and connections in Florida. So he would come through, and he would look to see what I'd done since the last time he had been there. And I can't take credit for this. It was absolutely my husband, Mike. He put the building up. He built the bird room to the specs of the Taj Mahal. And I couldn't do it, what I've been doing without what he did or does, because we're still learning. We're still doing this. Don't think that we're not. But Bob would come down, and then it was like, okay, you're ready to start teaching students. And when I tell you, every time we would get ready to run a class, this man would end up in the hospital the night before or something. Like, he would come with a hospital bracelet on his arm. He would sit in that chair, and I would look over at him, and I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be that person that was the last person to see Bob, that he passes in my house, because he's a legend in animal training, right? So I would be sitting there and like, please, please, please. But you know what? And you heard him say earlier, the doctors can't figure out what happened. I can't figure out what happened. They start him on an experimental shot. He stops chemo because chemo really does kick people's butts. He's on this experimental shot. Shout out to the Mitchell Cancer Center for getting him in as their patient so that he can monitor his blood work when he's down here. And I, to this day, believe it was being in the classroom, hearing those clickers, listening to his lectures, watching those students just, really going through this process and really benefiting for it. I can't prove this. I cannot prove this, but I watched it and I believe it. And that to me is so powerful. So when I say that I'm doing these podcasts so these workshops stay out here because they change lives, because they will make you, even if you're not an animal trainer, they're going to make you better at observing behavior and changing behavior. I don't care what you do. It's important to me that you hear this story and that you realize those workshops are special.
Sounds as good as divine intervention. Okay.
That's what I saw. I don't know what you saw. So what I want you to take away from this episode is, when I started this, what was I? I was 58, right? Something like that. 50, I don't know, 57, 68, whatever. And I'm learning this new skill, and it's uncomfortable as heck. And I never envisioned myself as teaching animal trainers. I never thought I would be doing this, but it's a testament to the curriculum and the tutelage of Bob and just the repeatability of what they built into this, that I can do this and that I now believe that I can pass it on. And again, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I don't think it's important to him that you stand in a room and say you met him. I think it's important to him, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you experience what he wants to leave us. And that, to me, is those workshops.
Well, thank you very much. But you are the teacher here. And I have taught with you. I've taught you. And I am happy that you have continued and are continuing the workshops. and I wish you the very best in the future.
Thanks. That means a lot. We're going to end this episode, but tune back in because we are going to go back in the history. And it's some incredible stuff that doesn't get told enough. So thanks so much for joining us today on Precision Animal Training. Before we sign off, here are the key takeaways from today's episode. We traced the remarkable history that turned animal training from guesswork into a true science, starting with the groundbreaking work of the Brelands and B.F. Skinner. And yes, it all began with chickens. We explored how sharpening your mechanical skills and powers of observation, even with something as simple as a chicken, can completely transform the way you train any animal and even change your own behavior. And finally, we were reminded that resilience, curiosity, and doing the work are what matters most. Whether you're supporting fellow trainers, pushing through challenges, or simply refusing to quit when things get tough. As Bob put it, it's not about meeting legends. It's about experiencing what they built and carrying that legacy forward. These stories, these workshops, and this technology now belong to you too. So until next time, keep observing, keep doing the work, and always remember, it's about what you do next. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Precision Animal Training Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen. It helps spread the word to more trainers like you. Share the show with a friend who could use a behavior breakthrough. Want to dive deeper into precision animal training? Head to kirstenschickenworkshops.com to learn about the workshops, sign up, or join the waitlist for the next series. That's kirstenschickenworkshops.com, where legendary science-based behavioral technology meets tomorrow's top trainers. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, remember, train a chicken, change the way you train forever. This show was edited and produced by Johnny Gwynn at Deep Fried Studios.